You're muted, Marty. I didn't know if you needed me. You look good. Okay. As always, you can unmute and ask questions if you need to do that. So as I just mentioned, from the peaceful, stable element of Earth last week, we're now turning towards the playful flow of water. And I personally am just such a water person. I find that if my mind is worried, just spending time by running water or by the ocean or a waterfall, anything like that, helps to relieve whatever the worry is. Somehow, even if I'm not thinking about whatever it is I'm worried about, that flow, that movement helps to loosen up thoughts that have been stuck or challenging. So water is our first home. So we have this earthy flesh and bone, right? But it took form in the watery womb. And even now our adult bodies are 45 to 60% water. Female bodies tend to have more, have less. Men's bodies tend to have more. So returning to the water element can feel very nurturing and comforting. And so, you know, many of us in our lives have had moments where there's been too much earth, too much stability, right? Things feel so stable that they can feel stuck. You can feel like you can't quite move or get out of something enclosed, hemmed in, or like there's few options. And so the great, gift that our watery beginnings and our makeup offers is this chance to flow with life, to flow with the goodness, the wonderful things that come our way, and the flow around and with the challenges as well. What was still before in earth now starts to come into movement. And the other thing that's really interesting about water is it always flows down and it's always seeking balance. Water's always going to land at its own balanced level, a place of balance. So when we learn to practice with water in mind, we learn to connect with that quality of flow, the flow of the breath, the flow of poses one into the next, the flow of life, so that we're not struggling against the places that feel stuck or the poses that feel hard. We try to flow with them even if we're in stillness. And that we're also we can send the flow of breath into a stuck place to do that. And we're also seeking a sense of balance through that flowing quality. Eventually, we end our practice in Shavasana, and it's that very low, balanced and spread place, that like a puddle, right, of water where we can end. And so water holds all these qualities, the flow, and the balance. We want to find some way to balance out flow, right, as we move in our practice. So that's what we'll work with tonight. Each time is just bringing us back into our own hearts, which creates a balance for us no matter what else is going on, hopefully. So you can start with a good seat. Sit up tall, turn your inner thighs in. And then bring your hands onto your thighs and close your eyes to turn inside. Welcome your breath. And then settle the sitting bones down, like they're still resting on earth, in earth. But then bring your awareness to the gentle ripple of the spine. The low back moves in towards the body. Mid back ripples back away from the heart slightly. The neck moves in towards the body, and then the back of the skull has a ripple back away from the face. There's that gentle curving, rippling quality. As you feel that, now notice if there's anything restricting the flow of your breath. And let it move. Look into your own heart space. Just notice if there is constriction, contraction that you don't need. Allow that to soften so that more life force More vitality can flow in your veins and in your energy channels, which the yogis call nadis. So knowing that we're working with some flow this evening, take a moment and form your particular intention. Then draw your palms up and join them in front of your heart. And we'll chant Om together to begin. So welcome your in-breath. Oh, pause. Let's do it 3 times. Inhale for Om. Om. Gently drop your head towards your heart and release your hands down and lift your head back up. And slowly open your eyes. We're going to start with cat and cow on hands and knees, but you want to bring your yoga block with you for this starting point. So hands and knees, I forgot to put my watch on, so I'm going to do that. And I'm going to bring my water so I stay more fluid. Here we go. So as you come to hands and knees, we're going to bring the flowing quality into the pelvis in particular. This is a really watery area of the body. And so we want that area to be able to flow and move. So to support that, you're going to take your yoga block, or you can use a couch cushion or rolled up towel if you have that, and you're going to put it between your inner thighs. Now we've done this a lot standing, so that's what it looks like. It's just between the inner thighs. Done it a lot standing, but this time we're going to do it on knees, on hands and knees. So the blocks between the inner thighs or the mat or the cushion, whatever you have, and then bring your hands back down. And now roll the block back towards the back of the room and also spin your hips up. So the block's moving back and the hips or the sitting bones are spinning up towards the sky. Then reach your heart up and look up. With a flowing quality, scoop your tail down towards the block and draw your chin towards your chest. As soon as you get to the end of that, flow back out. Inhale, send the block back and the sitting bones up. Lift your heart, look up. And exhale with a fluid motion, scoop your tail down, head draws in, curl up. So it's like you can go on your own pace now. Follow the flow of your breath. And make it a fluid, smooth movement through your spine, a ripple, like a wave that starts at the tailbone and flows forward and up through the heart, all the way up to the gaze, and then starts at the tailbone and draws back into itself. We're watery beings, and when we move in a fluid, flowing way, it starts to open up channels for vitality, more creative thinking, easier mind. Come back into a neutral spine now with your hands under your shoulders. Keep your block or your cushion and just take your knees a couple of inches back. You're still in the same position as you were, but the knees are further back. We're going to go to downward facing dog, keeping the block there, and it's more of like a flowing version. So with your toes curled under, lift your sitting bones, lift your knee, go up to downward facing dog. Take a big inhale, stretch there, and then exhale and lower your knees back down and float your heart forward and look up. Inhale and exhale, push back, lift the knees, stretch up to downward facing dog. Inhale and down dog, and then exhale, lower the knees down. Inhale, heart forward, lift up, look up. 2 more times like that. Shift back, lift the knees, stretch up to down dog. Feel that this is a flowing, connected movement. Then the knees come back down. Reach your heart forward, lift up, look up. 1 more time.
Curl back, downward facing dog. Pause in downward facing dog. We'll add that little bit of earth by slowly walking your hands back to your feet like we did for the last few weeks. Let your feet come down. Once your hands reach your feet, push down into your legs and rise up to standing. If you have the room, your hands float to the sky. If not, don't worry about it. Hands to your heart. Excellent. Okay, so now just for illustration, especially Bo hasn't done this with us, and it's been a little while since we've done it. So you take, keeping the block or the cushion between the legs, bend your knees a little bit. And we're gonna let the pelvis have some fluid motion. It's gonna be able to move. So to do that, roll both thighs, roll in towards the block. They roll in towards the block. And as that happens, your sitting bones roll back towards the back. Your front pelvis bones move forward. So it's a little, yeah, good. And we'll exaggerate it a little bit this time. Then your tail goes down, you can straighten the legs, and you stand up straight without popping the thighs forward. That's too much earth. So let's try it again. Bend the knees. Roll both inner thighs back, sitting bones go back, and the front of the pelvis goes a little forward and down. Good. Then straighten the legs, take your tailbone down. But the idea is that the thighs are still rolling back even as the legs straighten up. Let's do it one more time. Bend your knees. Think of the thighs turning towards an ocean wave or something. They roll in towards each other. The thighs roll back. Sitting bones go up a little higher. You'll notice there's more curve in your back here. And that curve is really helpful. Then scoop your tail and stretch both legs a little straighter. Good. You can reach down, take your block away, put it out of the way. We are going to use it again later in the practice, so have it where you can get it. And then step towards the top of your mat. So the main idea here is that the inner thigh, the upper inner thigh, rolls in and back, and that creates more curve in your spine, which is healthier for your spine and takes your legs into the right position in the hip. All right, so standing in Tadasana, bring your palms up in front of your heart. Take a moment to remember your intention. Now release your hands and inhale, stretch up to the sky. Exhale and flow over strong legs. Inhale, sweep your heart out. Exhale your left leg back, come into a lunge. Take a deep breath in and let the breath flow back out with ease. Make your legs stable and then lift the left inner thigh up. So the whole leg lifts and then roll the left inseam up towards the sky more and over to the left. I know it's kind of hard to see on Zoom, but it's like the whole leg turns. Keeping that and then flow your gaze forward. Exhale and lower your back knee. Step your right knee back to meet your left. And bring your forearms down onto the mat. Come back to forearm plank. Even in forearm plank, you can play with, a lot of times the thighs will sag down, and that's really hard. Instead, think of spinning the inner thighs up. And that'll lift you some. Then you just stretch forward so your heart isn't, your hips aren't way out of the pose. Exhale, lower your knees, undo your toes, come down. We're going to do cobra a little bit different. So hands under the chest, or to the outside of your chest, come down. Push your hands down, flow the heart forward, go all the way up to your top, and then exhale and flow down through the spine. Let's do 3 of these. So inhale, flowing up, and exhale, lower back down. One more time, inhale, full breath like a wave rising up, and like a wave back down through the vertebrae. Reach your hands more under your shoulders and go back to downward facing dog. You can do that from hands and knees or lift straight up and back. Take a deep breath in and feel the easy flow of your breath. Even though your body's in stillness, prana, which is life force, can flow. Then look forward and bring your left foot forward between your hands. We've been working on, you can sort of step out to the side to help that happen. Step forward in a different way. There we go. Deep breath in. Exhale, soften your skin. And then charge the legs with power. And now mind's eye to the inner right thigh, way up at the top. Lift up and roll the inner right thigh over and out towards the right. So it rolls up and over to the right. As it does, shift your hip a little right. Then descend into the left knee a little bit more. You can feel how this starts to open the space in the hips and pelvis possibly. Flow your heart forward and lift your gaze. Now push off your back foot, step forward, standing forward bend, Uttanasana. Inhale, heart floats out. Exhale and bow in like a ripple through the spine again, and then root your legs down and come all the way back up to standing. Then join your palms together in front of your heart. Exhale. Release your arms by your sides. Inhale, lift, reach up. Exhale and fold into Uttanasana, standing forward bend. Inhale and reach your heart out halfway. Step your right leg back. Exhale. Now take your hands onto your front thigh. You can do this with your back knee down if you need to, or with your legs strong, hands on your front thigh. We're going to do the same thing. So lean a little bit forward. It'll help the right thigh lift. Let the right thigh lift up the back leg. And then instead of like letting the hips shift, roll the inner right thigh towards the right. You can even touch your right thigh and move it to the right. That's it. Good, keep that. And flow the arms up. Do a little flow in the arms. Lift up and then exhale and sweep them back behind you. You can even lean a little bit forward. Inhale and sweep them up overhead. And exhale, sweep them back behind you. Lean a little forward if it's possible. Makes the legs work. Yep, good. One more time. Inhale, sweep them all the way up. And this time we'll come down and touch the floor. So exhale, you can put your hand on your thigh to support you, or just reach straight down. Right knee down, take your left knee back to meet it, and then go again to forearm plank. One of the challenges in forearm plank, of course, is that it's hard. It's very stable. There's a lot of earth. There's a lot of fire in this pose too. So the flow can come in the breath. That you're not holding your breath. As soon as you start to hold your breath, you're cutting off life force. We need the life force, so don't hold the breath. Lower the knees, lower the belly, come on down. Again, we'll take that more flowing cobra. So you take your hands in line with your mid-chest. Press the tops of your feet down. Inhale, shoulders up, lift up in a baby cobra or a bigger cobra, and then exhale and lower back down. See if you can move through each vertebrae one at a time. Inhale, heart lifts, neck lifts, head lifts. Exhale, back comes down, chest comes down, head comes down. One more time, like a wave, like a ripple. And exhale down. Curl your toes, go back, downward facing dog. Again, you come to stillness, but it's a stillness that's deeply alive with flow, with fluidity. Our cells have a lot of water in them and they can start to pulse with this aliveness. Now step your right foot forward, come into lunge. Welcome your breath. Secure your legs and bring your hands to your front thigh. Again, lean a little forward. Left thigh lifts and rolls over to the left. That can help turn both hips more forward. Then if you're feeling stable, lift up and take your arms up. And we'll do this little bit of flow with the arms. It's a baby lean forward and the arms reach back as you exhale. And then inhale as the arms sweep up, torso rises. And again, a little lean forward, exhale as the arms sweep back. Arms reach up, inhale, torso rises. One more time, reach forward, arms go back. And inhale, arms back up to the sky. And we'll step forward to standing forward bend. You can put your hands on your thigh to do that, or hands all the way to the floor and step forward. Standing forward bend. Feel the legs steady as you inhale, reach your heart halfway forward. Exhale, bow over. Arms wide, reach for the sky and come up. And exhale, hands to your heart center. And then exhale and soften, release your arms by your sides. Excellent. So if you have a block, you can put it in the center of the long edge of the mat, whichever side you're turning towards. 1 or 2 blocks. If you don't, it's all right. You don't, actually, no, don't do that. We don't need it. I forgot. We're doing it differently today. Maybe. All right, step the feet out wide. Hands to your hips. Turn your left leg in slightly towards your belly. So you want to turn onto the long edge of the mat. So you're facing the long side of the mat. Yeah. So left leg turns in slightly towards your belly. Turn your right leg all the way out. Take a breath and lift up from the feet to your pelvis like we did last week. And then bend the right knee and bring your right forearm on your right thigh for the side angle pose. Take a breath in, let the breath flow in and out with ease. And now with your legs solid, we'll imagine that we had a block that we could still roll back. So particularly the back thigh, the left thigh. Roll the left thigh in towards your belly button more. Yeah. And then lift it back behind you. So there's this kind of like, instead of it falling towards the floor, it tries to lift up. Good, so there's more flow in the left hip. Keeping that, draw your right hip towards the floor and lift your low belly up. Yeah. Then take your top arm over your ear and you've got Parsvakonasana. And your heart flows towards the long edge of the mat. Gaze can drift up towards your elbow or fingertips. Yeah, and it's a solid pose. It's a steady-ish, hopefully, pose. But there can be flow, movement through the breath. Bring your left hand back to your hip, push down into your right foot and stretch up. Good, turn your foot to parallel. And now turn your right foot in towards your belly a little. Turn your left leg all the way out, Parsvakonasana, the second side. Deep breath in. Exhale, bend the front knee. Left forearm, left thigh, right hand to your hip to start. And you just take a breath. And squeezing your leg muscles. Now roll both inner thighs in, but think of the right inner thigh rolling in more. So the front of the right thigh rolls towards the mat, and the inner thigh and the back of the right thigh rolls back and wide. Even lift the right thigh away from the mat some. Yeah, good. Keeping that, scoop your tailbone down and lift your low belly muscles up. Yeah, then turn your ribs, turn your heart. You can take the top arm over again, the right arm lifts up and over. From deep inside, notice if there's more energy flowing. And root that energy down into the earth first, and then long, out through the length of the ripply spine, and out through the fingertips. When we're more connected with this energy of flow and movement. Again, we're more creative. We're more adaptable. We'll talk about that next week. We're more flexible with life. Good. Bring your hand to your hip and stretch your front leg. Part of what we want to do in yoga, become more flexible, right? Turn your toes to parallel, and then let's step them back in. Okay, so we're coming to a standing balance, the standing quad stretch where you hold your foot. So if you need to hold onto a wall or a chair, totally fine to just step and hold the wall. And you don't have to bring your camera with you as long as you can hear me. So we'll stand so that your right leg is facing the wall, or sorry, your right foot is parallel to the wall. You're going to stand on the right leg. So remember that earthy quality coming up through the leg last week. We need that. Right hip squeezes in. Now your right hand comes to the wall or the chair, the furniture, whatever you got, and then bend your left knee and take hold of your left foot behind you. Now, if that's not easy, it doesn't have to be easy. If that's not possible, you can just work with your knee bent. You can also use, a dish towel or something to grab your foot, but it looks like everybody's got their foot. Good. Take a breath. Now bend your knee that you're standing on just a tiny bit and see if you can spin your hips back like we were doing earlier. So your butt moves back towards your heel a little bit. Good. Then straighten your leg and see if you can point your left knee more towards the mat. If you feel very balanced, take your right arm up the wall, if you're using a wall, or even off. So the right arm comes alongside the right ear. And you balance. And notice there's a flow, but water likes balance. It will seek balance. Then bring your hand back to the wall and set your foot back down. Awesome. Turn and face the other way. Now your left foot is parallel to your wall or your furniture. Left leg really strong. Again, hug the left hip in so hips don't flow out to the sides. With your left hand on the wall, reach back with your right hand for your right foot. And if it's not possible, you can use a strap to make your arm longer or a dish towel around the foot. Okay, then squeeze the leg muscles. Again, let's play with some fluidity in the hip area. So bend your left knee a little bit and send your hips back. You can't really see it because my arm's blocking it, but the hips move back. And then when you scoop your tail and straighten your left leg, bring your right knee as best you can alongside the left knee. So it's not behind and it's not in front of, it's right alongside so we get a quad stretch. Now, if you're feeling like you want to balance, the arm goes up and then maybe alongside the ear. I call this twig pose. It's like a little baby tree. Push down to stand up. Good. Bring your hand back to your wall for balance and release your right foot. Come on down. Good. You can step back to your mat. Now take your hands, standing in Tadasana. Actually, you can take your feet just a little bit wider than Tadasana. Anywhere on your mat is fine. Take both hands and float them back behind you like we did a moment ago. Yep. We're just working on, can we create some flow and openness in the front of the chest? Then clasp your hands behind you. Yep. So the hands meet behind. Lift through your rib cage and take your shoulders back. And then see if you can float the hands off the buttocks so they're a little away. Maybe even more. If possible, you straighten the arms a little more. Keep the shoulders back. Good. And you'll notice it'll start to push you forward, and that could be your limit. So you just resist that pushing forward. And release both arms. Sweep them up with an in-breath. Interlace your fingers at the top and stretch all the way up. Feel the breath flowing, even if your body is in stillness. And then exhale your arms back down, and we'll do it one more time. Clasp the hands behind. You can put the weird thumb on top. It'll feel just kind of different. And again, lift up under the armpits. Take your shoulders back. Yes, good. And then see if it's possible to move your hands away from your buttocks. Maybe it's a little, maybe it's a lot. Now, option to bend your knees a little, and my feet are wider than my hips. And now bow forward with this. So as I bow, my hands are resting on my buttocks, but you're gonna then lift them up towards the sky. And towards the sky is super relative. It doesn't have to be much. Keep your shoulders away from the floor and arms reach up and like they're trying to go over your head. Obviously, not going to do that. None of us are break dancers, but that's the idea or the image that helps. With a flow, release your hands, sweep them up to the sky, and lift yourself back all the way up to standing. And then exhale, bring your hands to your heart. Good, so we're gonna come all the way down now onto your belly. Take whatever way that makes sense for you. So you can step back to like a table pose or a plank. That's what makes sense to me. And like do it like a little lowering down of a push-up. Awesome. Oh, actually, if you have your block close or your cushion, we're going to take the block between the inner thighs again, which is a little tricky now that you're laying down, but see what you can do. There we go. Yep, so the block sticks up behind you like a little tail. My friend said that she heard you grow a tail when you get your vaccine, so I'm working on it. And now with the legs strong, you're going to squeeze into the block. So feel the legs squeezing into the block a little, between the thighs if possible, and then push your knees down. And when you push your knees down, you'll notice that the front of your hip lifts up a little bit. And that's the same thing we were doing before with the thighs going back. So the knees go down, front of the hip lifts up. And then just relax a second and notice how the thigh sort of drops back down into the floor. Yeah, so you can do this with your head resting on like a pillow of your hands, or if you feel like you need to really watch, you can come up on your elbows, but if possible, pillow of your hands. So now again, make the legs firm, squeeze the block, push the knees down, and when you do, you'll notice the hips lift a little bit, buttocks maybe lift up a little, and then see if you can lift the block using your inner thighs and lift it up just a little bit. There's a lot of curve in your back now. So then take your tailbone back towards your block and lift your low belly up. Your thighs might come more to the mat, but you'll notice there's a lot more space in your back. And there's a little flow that happened in your pelvis to make that possible. And then relax a second, release the buttocks, release the leg. This time, take your arms alongside your body, palms facing your thighs, thumbs down. And again, squeeze your legs into the block. Bend your knees, pull your knees as if they're trying to come up towards your hips, and then send the hips to the sky and the sitting bones towards the sky and the block up. There's a little lift, a little curve. Then scoop your tail. So your feet are down, your knees are doing the work. Scoop your tail, lift your low belly, and now keep your legs. Inhale, lift your heart up, lift your arms up. When the legs get really in that flow quality, the heart can lift with more ease. Yes. And exhale, lower back down. Turn your head to one side, rest. So it's a lot of pieces, this little bit of getting fluidity in the pelvis. You know, it's a little rock back and then a rock back forward in the pelvis. So whatever part of that you're getting, see if you can notice any more fluidity to your movement. See if you can notice any more just range of motion for your pelvis moving over the thighs. All right, so we'll do this 2 more times. Squeeze the block. Push the knees down, pelvis rocks up and back. Then scoop your tail back and inhale, lift your heart, rise up. This time add your hands on the floor beside your chest and curl up a little higher, but keep your pelvis stable. Yep, good. Cobra, elbows back. Good, and then exhale, lower down. So hopefully what happens when we set this up is that your back bend goes up into the middle part of your spine and is not in your lower back. Your low back is protected by the fluid motion of the pelvis. Let's do one more. Squeeze the block, inner thighs back, draw your tail in, lift your low belly, and inhale, curl your heart forward, rise up. Hands under the, in line with the middle of the chest on the floor, and then you curl up. And curling up can be quite high when the pelvis is set. Doesn't hurt for me, but it just depends. Yeah. Good, then exhale and lower back down. Very nice. Good, now you can bend your knees, let the block come out of the way, come up towards like a table pose, and grab your blanket, or you can use a block, you can use a cushion from your sofa, whatever you have. If you do have a blanket, that's what I'm going to recommend first, or a beach towel. You roll it up so you make this nice, sweet little roll. If you don't have that, then your couch cushion or your block will work. It's totally fine. It's just not as soft. Well, the couch cushion is super soft. All right, so if you have the blanket, you're going to lay your blanket across your mat about a third of the way from where your head goes in Shavasana. And it's going, horizontal across the mat. Same thing if you're using a block goes in the same place and it's going on the lowest setting and horizontal across the mat. We're going to take just a brief little heart opener. You're going to turn around so that your back is to the blanket or block or cushion, and then rest down so that the bottom tips of your shoulder blades meet that blanket, block, or cushion. You come down so your head meets the floor, and then take your arms out wide to the side. Let's do this with the knees bent so we accentuate the ripple look and feel of the body. But the idea is that your heart gets a very soft, passive support, soft, passive opening because of the support that's there. Then there's a ripple down to the pelvis, resting heavy on the floor. And then up over the knees and down to the legs. Ideally, your head can rest on the floor, but if your support is a little high, you might need to put something under your head if there's too much pull on the muscles around your neck or shoulders. So you'll have to discern that and make a decision. But as you rest here, supported, notice how your heart is beating. And as it does, it propels blood through your circulatory system, through your whole body. So there is a constant flow of life-giving nourishment, literally moving through your whole body at all times. And we feel connected with that, and we feel it pulsing. It's like such a gift. And it can help you feel more alive when things have felt dull or hard. Take another full breath in, and as you exhale, let your shoulders soften towards the floor even more. And then take your left hand across your body and slowly roll over towards your right side. Reach down, come off of the blanket or the block or the cushion. Take your blanket away. And then you want to be able to see what I'm going to do. So you can come up to sitting if that works, or you can, stay on the ground. Hopefully I'll be clear enough. We've got one more active back bend. And oftentimes we do the back bends with a real emphasis on the shoulders. And I know that you all know the shoulders now, that the shoulders are always back, especially in back bend. So now we're going to work on having the fluid flowing quality in the hips as well. So as you rest, you'll watch first. So I'm coming back. The block goes the same place it's been all practice. So it's between my inner thighs. I'm going to come back onto my head. Hands are here in like a yoga robot. And then I'm going to come up to bridge. And before I do much else, well, first I'm going to get the shoulders to go back. I'm going to do the same thing we just did. Roll the block towards the floor a little bit. Let the inner thighs roll in. And then I'm going to scoop my tail towards the block and lift my belly away. What happens now is my pelvis is really, really supported. And then I can push down to lift my heart more. So it creates a back bend where there's no tension in my lower back. There's strength in my low back, but there's no constriction or contraction. Then to come down, we just lower the hips down. We don't roll through the spine. It's a little too much for the lower back. So I know it can be a little tricky the first time you try it, but you're going to hold the block, let the block lower towards the floor, and then take your tail towards the block and your belly up. We'll play with it and see if it works, see how it goes. Doesn't make sense? Just enjoy doing a bridge pose. That works too. And of course, if the blankets or pillows don't work, just let them go and do bridge. All right, so come back onto your back. Bend your knees. Take your block between your upper inner thighs or your cushion, and then bend your elbows so that your fingertips point to the sky, and you're like a yoga robot. And that just helps your shoulders get placed. Take your shoulders back towards the mat. Push your feet down, lift your hips up. And then get left shoulder a little bit under, right shoulder a little bit under more. And now squeeze the block. See if you can roll the block towards the floor. Your hips will come down a little bit. Inner thighs roll in. Keep that. Scoop your tail towards the block like a shovel. It scoops forward and then up, low belly up, and use that to lift you up into bridge a little bit more. Maybe you can push into the arms to lift your heart. Head flows back. And enjoy a breath. No constriction in the breath. And ideally, we're working towards no overworking in the lower back, no pinching the lower back. Good. Exhale, lower your hips down and rest a moment. You can take the block away as you rest if that feels good to you. Feels good to me. As you rest, it's feeling that nurturing quality of flow of life pulsing in your veins, pulsing through your whole body. Even the middle of our bones is fluid. It's where our blood gets made. Once again, take your block between the upper inner thighs. Squeeze into it. Yeah. Hands into the yoga robot position. And take your shoulders back. So the shoulders are on the floor as best you can. Excellent. Push your feet down, lift your hips up. Fluid in the pelvis. So rock the inner thighs in, the pelvis rocks down towards the floor a little bit, and then scoop the tail forward and up like a shovel. Low belly lifts. Let that start to swing you further up towards bridge. If you'd like, you can stretch your arms out underneath of you, maybe even clasp your hands. If that feels too hard, please don't do it. The shoulders feel too tight. It causes strain and stops the breath. Good. Keep scooping the tail towards the heels and press from your legs down into the floor. Then release your hands if you did clasp them and set your hips back down onto the mat and rest again. Shoulders can come a little further out to the sides. Rest in the quality of flow, even if you're not moving. Flow of breath, flow of life force. This flow helps to clear out anything that's too stuck or getting stagnant. All right, one more time. So if you're feeling like you're done with doing back bends in this way, and you'd rather do more of a restful back bend, you can take your block, lift your hips, and just put yourself, your buttocks or your sacrum on the block and rest. And that's a nice restorative back bend. Feels great. If you want to do it one more time in this way that I've been doing it, we'll do it that way. So again, the block goes between the thighs, shoulders back, push your feet down, lift your hips up, big breath in. Roll your thighs into the block. See if you can roll the block towards the floor. The pelvis will hang low for a moment, and then scoop your tail forward towards your heels and up towards the sky. Keeping that, lift your heart even more. And again, there's the option, clasp your hands. If the low back feels like it's pinching, then lower the hips a little, scoop the tail further forward. See if you can relieve that pinch by doing that action. Big breath in. Big breath out and release your hands. Set your hips back down and rest one more time. This time you can put your block completely out of the way. And just rest your hands either on your belly or your heart. So nice that we have this technology of yoga that helps us return to more vitality, to the natural state of flow that we can always connect to. We just don't always think about it. Sometimes we get pretty stuck. So now let your right leg hover up off the mat and draw towards your chest. Oh no, before you do that, right leg back down. Take the heels of your hands to the tops of your thighs where they meet your pelvis, meet your hips, and push the heels of your hands into the tops of your thighs. Push in so much that your arms get a little straight. Get as straight as you can, actually, and use that to help, again, if there was any constriction in the lower back, we want to relieve that before you go back into your life. So this creates a traction. Release that, and now hover your right leg in. Take both hands behind your right thigh. And then instead of pulling your knee towards your chest, actually push it away from you. So the hands are holding behind the thigh, or you can use a strap for that and push away. And the push away does the same thing that we just did. It helps to activate the back of your leg and also relieve any strain that may have occurred in your lower back. Release your right leg down. Hover your left leg up and then clasp behind your left thigh. Do the same thing, push away. So if your hands were not there, your foot would go shooting out away from you. My arms get straight, so my leg would just press away. Again, this is to relieve low back tension, constriction. It's also quite grounding. Release your left leg, set your left foot back down. Roll over to your right side and slowly come up to seated. And when you come to your seat, you can sit on your blanket or cushion. Cross right shin over left shin. Also useful after back bends is to have a twist. It helps unwind if there was unevenness in the back bend. So inhale and take your left arm up. Exhale your left hand to your right knee. Take your right hand and bring it behind and sit up tall
to now twist. So feel like it's a fluid turn through your spine, from the middle of your, so from your mid back all the way up, all the way to turning your head to look behind. Continue to receive the flow of your breath. And notice if you've held it or locked it in any way. Inhale and untwist, come back around. Put both hands on your knees. We'll take like a cat tilt, so nose toward your chest or chin toward your chest, round back, and actually lean your ribs back. So I don't often do this, but we'll go back for a moment. And then ripple through. Let your pelvis ripple forward, and then your spine follows, and your head is the last to come up. So you're just feeling for that rippling quality. Let's do it one more time. Hands on the knees. First, the ribs, the belly, draw back. Your pelvis can tip forward for a moment, chin to chest, and then roll the hip bones forward. Ribs roll up, head rolls up last. Good. Switch the cross of your legs. So your left leg is in front, your right leg's behind. Inhale your right arm up. Exhale, right hand to left knee, left hand behind, and twist. Your pelvis stays. And then the twist comes in at the low ribs and up higher than that. Allow your head to turn like it's just part of the swivel. Then inhale, come back towards the front. Bring your hands back to your knees. We'll do this little rock again. So hands on the knees. The top of the pelvic bones tip back. The tailbone tips forward, around your spine over like cat tilt. And then top of the pelvic bones tip forward. Ripple through your spine all the way back up to seated, like you're rolling through. Good, shoulders back. Do that one more time. So the pelvis rocks back and you just roll back through your spine. Head rolls in. And then from the pelvis, ripple up through your spine. So it's like a little arch or a wave that rolls up through the spine. And the head is the very last, feeling that fluid quality in the body. Excellent. Now you can come down onto your back. You're taking blankets out of the way unless you're going to use them for Shavasana. Go ahead and turn around, come down onto your back. Hopefully as you come down now, if there was some tension in your low back, that little bit of work helped to relieve it. So now draw both legs in. You can curl into a ball or do happy baby, or just hold your knees, let your feet dangle in front of you. And as this feels complete, be like water. Extend yourself out along the floor to come to Shavasana. So I'll come up to talk to you, but you can go to Shavasana. So you can go ahead and lay down for Shavasana, and I just come up, yeah. Think of yourself as you come into this position tonight like a drop of water that has fallen to the earth. And there's the earth holding you. And you're seeking balance. And so you spread and spread and spread. Allow the muscles to spread out where they meet the floor. And the bones to get heavy. Let even your attention spread out across the floor like the surface of a lake. And let yourself dip down Rest a little more deeply inwards. Held in the flow of your life force energy. Held in the flow of your breath. Give yourself this time to rest. Let the breath flow in and back out again with no restrictions. And then start to create gentle movements, your hands and feet. So just gently moving to awaken. Then stretch however feels good to you. There might be a yawn that comes, a movement. Bend your knees. You can bend your knees and roll over to your right side. And then slowly come up to seated, pushing from the right side. And come on up. Sit up tall and close your eyes again. And just pause. Good. Bring your chin parallel to the floor. Shoulders back. And notice how that lets all of this information and energy and integration flow through your whole spine. You can bring your palms up in front of your heart. May your practice connect you with this inner experience of flow, of aliveness. May the watery nature help you to seek balance and nurturance as we move into the world. We'll close our practice in gratitude with one chant of Om. Welcome your in-breath. Om. Namaste. Alrighty, thank you all so much for practicing with me today. It's lovely to be with you.